Welcome back to a linguistic approach to English grammar. In this video, we're going to discuss verbs. Now, typically, you would be told that verbs are action words, and that is true, but they're also things like states and sensations. Let's give some examples of action verbs, and then we'll go into states and sensations. So actions are things like kick. So for example, you can kick a ball. That means to hit the ball with your foot and make it travel. So another action, of course, would be like hit. Or if you have several choices and you want to pick one, or you want to choose one, or say you're very tired and you want to sleep, or if you're hungry and you want to eat. These are all different action words. And most of the verbs that you encounter in your everyday life will be action verbs. But there are some verbs that are states. So the most common one is, of course, the verb to be. So this is your is or am, like he is sleepy. So that is a state of the person. We also have verbs that are changes of states. So for instance, become. If you said, Mark became an evil villain, that means that there was a state where he wasn't an evil villain, and now he is in a state where he is an evil villain. You could also have a state like appears or seems. Now, this is your view of someone in your own perception. So if you say he seems tired, what that means is that he might not be tired, but he has a look that to you, you believe that he is tired. Okay, so these are states. These are about the condition that someone is in. It makes that relationship between the person and the condition, or the object and the condition. Sensations are things like feeling. So he feels sleep. This is a sensation. You can feel this. Or something like the apple tastes great. So these are personal experiences, how you relate something that you do with one of your senses in your body, like feeling, touching, hearing, and so on. Yeah, so these are the different things that verbs can denote. Now, every single sentence in English requires a verb. Whether it's a command, a statement, a question, we need verbs. And verbs can fit into any of these positions. So after a modal like will, they will run, they will scream, they will cry. You can fit a verb into there. Steve will blanket, so you can say Steve will do it. So do is a verb. Or Steve will slay it. So if you have a monster and you want to kill it, that's called slaying. Or in a colloquial sense, if you slay an exam, that means you did really well on the exam. It blanks nice. So this could be your sensation. It feels nice. It smells nice. It looks nice. So this is a great frame for sensations. Or I may blanket to them. So these give you ditransitive verbs. So words like give, words like send, words like introduce. So you can use these sentence frames in order to identify verbs, but in general, the point of a verb is to tell you about the subject, whether that's about what the subject does, what the subject feels, it just talks about the subject. So in this case, run, scream, and cry is talking about what they are doing. Steve will slay it, Steve will do it. This is talking about what Steve will do. It feels nice, it looks nice, it's describing it. I may give it to them, I may send it to them. It's talking about what I is going to do, or what I am going to do. I say I because I'm referring to the word I for is. I. That is what I is going to do. Okay, so we're going to cover this material in detail in later videos once we know a little bit more about phrases, but just a general overview here. If you know a lot about verbs already, there are 6 different verb types in English, and each of these verb types have a different sentence structure. So there are what are called intransitive verbs, like he slept. You can end a sentence with an intransitive verb. You can have transitive verbs, we baked a cake. This is where you have what are called direct objects. We would label this as a DO, a direct object. So this is what you're doing the verb to. So we baked would be fine as an intransitive verb, but we could say we baked a cake. That is what you're baking. You have VG verbs, which are called ditransitive give verbs. This is where you have a transfer of an item to another person. So it, this is your direct object, this is the thing you're giving, and Mark is what's called the indirect object because Mark is the receiver of an object. You have these VC verbs, which are ditransitive consider verbs. This is where you have a direct object and you have a description of the object, and they form sort of an equals relationship. So we consider him a good guy. That means that him is equal to a good guy, or he is a good guy. We have linking verbs. So he looks safe. This is where you have your sensations. And then we have the be verb, is or am, which works very similar to a linking verb, except we can use it in more situations than we can use a linking verb. So we cannot say something like he looks here, but with a be verb we can say I am here. Okay, now we're going to cover these 6 different types of verbs in detail at a later date. So let's look at this sentence and try to figure out where the verbs are. You can pause the video and try yourself, but let me read this out loud. Does anyone need some chocolate? I went to Vancouver for a big conference, but I forgot my lunch at home. Now I feel so hungry. Okay, let's find the verbs. So, does anyone need some chocolate? So, need here is our first verb. You need something. I need something. If we're going to use the labels from before, this would be an example of a transitive verb, since the subject needs something else. I went to Vancouver for a big conference. Okay, went. Went is a verb. It would be an intransitive verb. So, this would be the verb to travel. I went somewhere. But I forgot my lunch at home. So forgot is another verb, another transitive verb. So I forgot something. I forgot my lunch. Now I feel so hungry. And here we have a linking verb describing the feeling. So this is saying that I equals so hungry. So I feel so hungry. Okay, and like I said, we don't have to know these types of verbs yet. We'll talk about them later. But if you do have any questions about verbs in general, feel free to ask them in the comments below, and I will get to you as soon as I can.